So here's another one of those topics that I'm not sure everybody's going to appreciate, and honestly, I don't care. I'm just here to tell you guys and give you guys some value. Options for kids are not a good thing. I've gotten a few comments about the fact that I don't give my kids options, and you guys can comment and ask questions. I'm completely open to that. But I wanted to give you guys some explanation and some reasoning behind why I don't choose to do that. And I'm not saying that with everything, but why I don't choose to do that as a normal in my household. Now for us, options become more of an availability to my children when they are willing to accept that no is the answer and when they're willing to obey. Now that's simply just because I want my children to know that they're not in charge of their life, and it completely eliminates the entitlement factor. So for instance, my child today, he started arguing and talking back with me, and instead of asking a question politely, because I probably would have given him an answer as to why he couldn't do what he did, he decided to yell at me about, well, why don't I get to? And I have a good attitude, Mom. If you're yelling at me about having a good attitude, you don't have a good attitude, sweetheart. So it's not going to work like that. But as an example, he was not willing to accept my no as an answer. Also, I realize my glasses are not being very helpful, so I'm just going to take this. All right, another thing I want to add is just think about it. Have you ever been around a child that is almost never told no? And even when they are told no, it turns into an argumentative session as to why they should get what they are demanding or wanting? It's exhausting. It's exhausting for anybody watching it. It's exhausting for the child, and it's exhausting for the parent. So if your child isn't willing to accept the answer that you give, then you might want to rethink your method. So I guess here are some of my major tips for giving your children options so they still are feeling empowered, which I don't like to use that term, and they're getting practice at decision making. First, if you do offer options on like harmless things, like what kind of cereal do you want this morning, then limit the options to 2 or 3 instead of pulling out all 6 types of cereals that you have in your pantry and having them choose. Or for me, that would be, hey, what color bow do you want to wear today? And instead of showing her the whole board of bows, I'll pull off 2 or 3. Secondly, avoid saying things like, you're in charge, or whatever you want. Or ending a sentence with, okay, question mark, like, do you want to get in your car seat now? Okay. Does the child have a choice to get in the car seat, or are you asking them if they're in charge of getting in the car seat? Because obviously they have to get in the car seat for you to go anywhere. Thirdly, if you have a lot of toys in the bedroom, that's fine, but I would take the time to divide them up and do like a toy rotation system. That way the toys feel special and the child's creativity is not hindered by the fact that they have so much to play with it gets overwhelming for them. Next, and extremely important, do not give your children what they want when they demand it, scream for it, or have an argument about it. And please do your best to be consistent with this. Because if you give in on the temper tantrum, or the screaming because they don't get the way, or because things didn't go the way that they wanted, then you will definitely end up with an entitled child. And last, make sure everybody has a choice, including you. Don't take everybody out for dinner that night and say, hey, where do you want to go, to my 6-year-old? Well, he's going to choose McDonald's so he can play on the playground. But what if you as a parent don't want McDonald's? Like, give the option if you want to give the option, but limit the options, and then make sure they're options that you're going to enjoy too, because you're the one paying for this. Bonus side note, don't let them complain about what you choose to do. Actually do that. Test this out. See where your child responds and how they respond whenever you decide to make the decisions for them instead of them making it for themselves. And I'm not saying be in charge of everything. You don't need to get up and tell your 6-year-old what to wear that morning, but limit the major options and you decide from there. And their attitude that day will determine what their heart attitude looks like. And if their heart attitude is rotten, you realize, especially when they're little, that you're going to have a very difficult time with them when they're a teenager. P.S. And not because teenagers shouldn't have choices, but just because you're still in charge.